84 minutes. It's an embarrassment. People at the top need to look and see this and actually make changes. Put a plan in place that people can actually sit there and go, actually, I can see where we're going now. I don't see it.
OK. Look, the inquest will continue. In the short term, United have blown the chance to get closer to that top four. The longer-term questions, though, surely now are greater than ever. We'll hear from Peter on Burnley.
Only out of the relegation zone on goal difference, but now having played just one game less than their rivals. Burnley's big win at Old Trafford sees them move up to 13th and 7 points clear of the relegation zone. Liverpool's lead at the top, 13 points going to Friday's game. Leicester going 14 points clear after today's win of Manchester United in 5th, with Tottenham in 6th, 34 points from their 24 games. So we'll talk about for quite some time, Paul.
Yeah, I'm sure it will be. Yeah, it was defensive performance. I don't think they came to Old Trafford and played brilliantly well. United were just really, really poor on the night. Like I said before, it could have been a different story as well. United created 2 or 3 really good chances in that first half. They scored one of them. They didn't, I know that. But they should be putting one of them away. And we said as well, giving stupid free kicks away against a team like Burnley, it's criminal really to do that. I'm sure Ole would have been on to him, but it's almost like playing against a Sam Allardyce team when I was playing. Mm-hmm. You do not give a free kick, throw-ins, corners, anything away, because they're a big threat. And United are weak at the back with especially with aerial balls into the box. And every opportunity you pump the ball into the box, and we saw. Yeah. I think he is caught by surprise, but he shouldn't be. He should be across there. He should be across. He should be covering that near post at all times. And look, I know, as Tim said, it was an unbelievable strike. Of course it was, but the keeper for me should do better. As the last 2 games for De Gea maybe summed up his season so far? Yeah, it's been patchy. I'd say probably his 18 months have been patchy. Yeah. He's been one of the best goalkeepers in the world. I would have said before that, for the 3 or 4 years before that, but the last 18 months he's been a little bit shaky, and he needs to up his game.
He's a superstar, and pay a few quid and try and keep the fans happy. This squad it's got to be the worst squad in the last 30 years. It's nowhere near it, and you can blame Ole and you can blame the manager, but I mean, if you look at that squad there tonight, we were looking at the options off the bench. It's miles off it. This is Manchester United. It's a sad state of affairs. It's one of the biggest clubs in the world, and it's been run badly. It's been mismanaged. They've signed players that don't fit the squad. There's no ethos. I don't know what a Manchester United player is anymore.
Well, it's like they're signing players to fix problems, isn't it, rather than long-term thinking?
When you look at Liverpool, let's look at the team that everyone's aspiring to be like now. That's the team that's setting the benchmark. That club don't buy players because they are the best player in that position or the best player about. They buy players as the best player to fit in their system, and that will actually be in that system and play in that team for a number of years. It's not a short-term fix. It's longevity looking for. Total opposite end of the scale here. We're just buying players here at Manchester United. Sanchez is a great example. Just buy him a stopgap quickly. Yeah. Spend all the money you can just to fix a problem quickly. It can't. It doesn't work.
What they're doing at Liverpool is what they're buying players. And if they're not ready, they don't throw them in. They're improving them, and every single player they've bought has improved from being at the football club. Most of the players that Manchester United have bought in the last few years, last 5 years even, has gone backwards.
So how do they solve this problem then? Because it's not that they're not spending the money, right? But they're not spending it correctly. So while you've got the Glazers owning the club and Ed Woodward effectively running the football club and then Ole and his team managing underneath, do you go now and spend another 50 million or another 100 million? Because you've done that. You've done that on players previously and it hasn't worked. So what is the answer here?
In this transfer window just gone, I saw a difference from the previous 6.5 years in terms of buying young, hungry British players, which was a shift from before just buying the best no matter where they're from, whatever age they're at, overpaying. And I saw a shift in that. And they've made a stand. They're probably one of the best teenagers in the world. They let go, and they let him go to Borussia Dortmund because they weren't going to be bullied, and they made a stand against being bullied by an agent. So I understand they're making little tweaks and changes here, but in the grand scheme of things, mistakes have been happening so often before that, and obviously to try and fix that, it's going to take time. But you can see here, these fans they're not giving it time. They're singing songs, they're shouting, they're leaving early. At 84th minute, 85th minute, I'm seeing people get up and go. It's unheard of at this stadium. People need to sit and watch this, get a videotape and look at the stands in the 85th minute onwards and see people leaving with the disdain on their faces. It's an embarrassment. And I said that before, but I can't, there's no other word to explain it. I'm sitting up here thinking, this is the team that I love coming to watch, I love playing for. The difference, the downward spiral in that short space of time, which is only 7 years, has been remarkable.
You see with the interview from the Burnley players there, I mean, I remember coming here playing against Rio's teams and, you know, trying to keep the score down, let's have it right. And now they're coming here and they're expecting to win. You know, was it Chris Wood after there saying, you know, we thought we could get a result. I mean, that's what's unheard of. And it's a sad state of affairs because, as much as listen, I haven't got any shoe in this camp whatsoever. You know, I played for Liverpool. I've got a family of City fans, but it's sad to see a club of Manchester United's stature at the level they're at now. I mean, this is arena we're in here, and the squad just doesn't match it.
So we have to talk about the manager then. We've talked about the bigger picture, the recruitment situation. If they don't bring in a director of football, that's not going to change. Is the manager doing a good enough job? They're 11 points worse off than they were at this stage last season.
Well, the results will suggest not. You have to be honest. I played with Ole, he's an ex-teammate of mine, but you have to be honest, the results that are being churned out are not good enough. And I will give him a little bit of backing in one sense. He's got a lot of injuries to big players. McTominay, probably the outstanding player before he got injured. Pogba's a huge player, most expensive player here. Now Rashford's got injured, who was in the form of his life. So he's had some big key players get injured. But still, the big amount of money being spent on this squad, you'd expect more to be in reserve, waiting to come in out off the wings to come and perform. We're relying on an 18-year-old at half-time to come on and change our fortunes. That says where we're at.
I feel sorry for the young players coming in because, you know, they haven't got
pressure.
Anyone to look up to, really. You know, there's no one who's dragging them along. It's the young players who are showing the more experienced players the way forward, and that shouldn't be happening at a club like this.
It's a really difficult situation for Ole now to try and turn this around, isn't it?
He's got to galvanise these players. There's got to be who's in that change room. It's not just about the manager as well. Ole's got to be in there with his management team and getting hold of these young players, getting hold of all these senior players. Listen, boy, you step up, you stand up now, and you go in there and you make sure people understand that we're not going to be shrinking violence. We're not going to sit there and be scared and come out shaking to pass a 10-yard ball.
But that's not happened in over a year at this football club. That moment hasn't happened where you sort of go, right, I understand what Manchester United is now. I can see improvements in individuals. I can see a style of play. I can see where this team is heading. Like if I said to you, where are Man United going? How do you answer that question?
I don't know. There's been far too many inconsistencies, and you can blame that on the age of this squad, because the age of this team that played today was very, very young. One of the youngest in the league.
Well, over the course of the season, to give them their due, they have named, on average, the youngest squads.
Yeah,
in the Premier
and
League
with
this
that
season.
comes inconsistencies. With young players, 100% comes inconsistencies, but again, it goes back to the recruitment, which it always keeps doing, is that if you've been doing your recruitment right, you wouldn't have to rely on so many kids. You'd do it right so that there's actually some experienced players in there that can stand up. The likes of Maguire, just been given the armband, you need to be stepping up in that change room and bringing people together and saying, listen, we're not going to go out there and get done at home like this by a Burnley team. Yes, they perform well, but it's Burnley. With all due respect, we should be making sure we get the 3 points here. We're looking to get in the Champions League here.
You look at how have you let Lukaku go, Sanchez go, and not have anyone to replace them? They've had no one to replace them. And Rashford's been leading the line on his own. Martial flatters to deceive, doesn't he, constantly? And Greenwood's the only other option. I mean, you've got Lukaku and Sanchez there, and of course they had their faults, but Lukaku gets you 20 goals a season, guaranteed. He's been allowed to leave. So it's not just recruitment in the sense of buying players. It's the recruitment. You know, how have they been allowed to leave the football club?
Chris Smalling, he's the best defender at the club. If you're talking just outright defending, he's the best defender at the club. Gone. I don't understand it. That's just my opinion. There was a centre half looking at it. If I was playing against Burnley today and I had to pick a centre half who's on the books of Manchester United to play, he'd be the first name on the sheet.
Lukaku's banged in 18 goals at the club he's gone to. Manchester United are talking about struggling for a goal scorer.
He guarantees goals, Lukaku. Listen, there are people here, he's split opinion, they divide opinion, but what he does goals, and that's what made United are lacking. There was players in the box. I mean, there was chances in that first half there that Lukaku would have scored. I think there was, they did create them, and then it's a whole different game. But listen, we sit here and criticise Man United, we have to, but Burnley did a fantastic job today. They were, we can't just sit here, it's all be about Manchester United and how bad it was, because Burnley were first class today, and they deserve a lot of credit for that.
Okay, Ollie is just apparently emerging in the tunnel. We'll hear from him as soon as he stands in front of Des. But just sort of from a personal point of view, for someone like you that gave so much of your career to this club, won so much, how does it feel watching this now?
It's hard, man. It's hard to be sitting here and criticising. There's ex-teammates I played with in there, ex-teammates who are part of the management team. It's difficult. You don't want to do that. You want your team to do well. You want them to produce, but you can't sit here and lie and tiptoe around it. You have to say what you see.
It's a difficult night, that's for sure.